Welcome back. Today could truly change your life, because we're diving into the fascinating world of Lincoln penny coin values United States. In this video, we'll explore the iconic design, the hidden history, and the secret treasures behind some of the most valuable, expensive, and ultra-rare U.S. coins ever discovered. We're revealing the top 3 Lincoln pennies from the United States of America that collectors are desperately searching for. 1999 Lincoln Penny, no mint mark. 1995 Lincoln Penny, no mint mark. 1982 Lincoln Penny, no mint mark. These coins may look ordinary, but their shocking mint history, metal composition, and rare color variations make them incredibly valuable. The 1982 penny, in particular, is a copper-plated zinc coin that can appear in rare red to dark brown shades, and even coins in dirty or circulated condition are highly sought after by collectors. What's truly unbelievable is that some of these pennies, which many people still spend without thinking, can be worth thousands of dollars, or even millions today. So before you spend that old penny in your pocket, stick around, because you might be holding a hidden fortune in your hands. First up, coin number 1 eyes. Welcome back, because today's story is not just about a coin, it's about possibility. A possibility hidden in plain sight, resting quietly in pockets, drawers, and old jars across the United States. Today, we are stepping into the mysterious and fascinating history of one of the most talked about modern U.S. coins, the 1999 Lincoln Penny with no mint mark. A coin that many people have spent without a second thought, yet one that has shocked collectors and changed lives in ways few could imagine. At first glance, the 1999 Lincoln Penny looks completely ordinary. Abraham Lincoln's familiar portrait stares forward, a design Americans have seen for generations. But history has a strange habit of hiding its greatest secrets inside the most common objects. The late 1990s were a period of massive production for the U.S. Mint. Pennies were being struck in enormous numbers, rushed into circulation to meet everyday demand. When speed replaces precision, rare mistakes and unusual variations are born, and that is exactly where the story of this penny begins. This coin was struck during a time when the United States had already transitioned away from solid copper. Instead, these pennies were made from copper-plated zinc, a cheaper composition that introduced new variables into minting. Tiny changes in pressure, temperature, or metal bonding could create dramatic differences in color, weight, and texture. Some 1999 pennies emerged with unusual red tones, while others darkened quickly into deep brown shades, far earlier than expected. These color variations weren't cosmetic accidents, they were clues, signals that something unusual had happened during the coin's creation. The absence of a mint mark on a 1999 penny adds another layer of intrigue. No mint mark typically means the coin was struck in Philadelphia, but among collectors, certain no mint examples have drawn attention for subtle differences that can't be explained by normal wear. Some show sharper details, others display odd surface textures, and a rare few reveal alignment issues or metal flow patterns that suggest something went wrong, or perhaps too right, inside the minting press. What truly elevates this coin from interesting to legendary is its connection to mint anomalies and transitional errors. During this era, experimental processes, dye fatigue, and metal inconsistencies overlapped. A small number of pennies slipped through quality control with characteristics that were never meant to exist together. These coins were released into circulation, unknowingly handed out as change, and forgotten for years. Only later did collectors begin to notice patterns, certain 1999 pennies behaving differently under magnification, weighing slightly off, or aging in ways that normal pennies simply don't. One of the most shocking truths about this coin is that condition is not everything. While most rare coins demand perfect surfaces, some of these 1999 pennies retain strong value even in dirty or heavily circulated condition. That's because their importance lies in how they were made, not how they look today. Dirt, scratches, and wear cannot erase a minting anomaly. In fact, many of these coins were discovered precisely because someone decided to look twice at a grimy, forgotten penny instead of throwing it away. Over time, stories began to circulate within collector circles, quiet stories at first. A penny found in an old cash register. Another pulled from a child's piggy bank. A handful discovered inside a coffee can that hadn't been opened in 20 years. These weren't fairy tales, they were reminders that rarity doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers. As demand grew, so did the prices. coins with verified unusual characteristics began commanding astonishing sums. Not because they were shiny, but because they were wrong in all the right ways. The right color, the right weight, the right story. When collectors compete for a limited number of known examples, prices don't rise slowly, they leap. That's how ordinary pennies transform into coins valued in the hundreds of thousands, and in extreme cases, millions of dollars. And here's the part that stops people in their tracks: many of these coins were never stored in safes. They lived normal lives. They bought coffee, paid tolls, sat in drawers, rolled under car seats. That means the possibility is not theoretical. It is real. If one such penny could survive unnoticed for decades, others may still be out there waiting. This is why collectors urge caution. If you come across a 1999 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, unusual color, or strange feel, do not rush to sell it cheaply. The true value of such a coin is not decided at a pawn shop counter or by someone who hasn't studied its history. Rushing could mean losing the very thing that has the power to change your financial future overnight. Coins like this don't just carry metal, they carry stories, mistakes, timing, and rarity. They represent moments when history blinked and something unexpected slipped through. That's what collectors pay for. That's what transforms pocket change into legacy wealth. So before you dismiss that old penny as worthless, pause. Look closer. Feel its weight. Notice its color. Ask yourself why it aged the way it did. Because sometimes, fortune doesn't arrive loudly. Sometimes, it comes quietly, copper-colored, and overlooked, waiting for the right person to recognize its power. And that's why this coin matters. Not because everyone has one, but because someone still might. Welcome back, because today's story is not about spare change, it's about hidden destiny. A destiny stamped into a small copper-colored coin that millions of people have held, spent, and forgotten. Today we uncover the shocking and misunderstood history of the 1995 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin that looks ordinary, feels ordinary, yet carries a reputation powerful enough to stop collectors mid-sentence and make experienced numismatists lean closer. The year 1995 was a strange moment in American coinage. The Lincoln cent had already moved away from solid copper, becoming a copper-plated zinc coin, lighter in weight and cheaper to produce. But what was meant to be a simple cost-cutting measure quietly opened the door to inconsistencies, unexpected finishes, and subtle minting irregularities that would only be noticed years later. Pennies were produced in massive quantities, moving quickly from presses to circulation, leaving little time for perfection. In that rush, certain coins emerged different, not loudly different, but just different enough to matter. A 1995 penny with no mint mark tells its own story. It suggests a Philadelphia origin, yet origin alone does not explain why some of these coins show unusual red brilliance, while others fade rapidly into dark brown tones, sometimes unevenly, sometimes in a way that defies normal aging. These color shifts are not simply cosmetic, they reflect how the copper plating bonded to the zinc core during striking. Tiny variations in pressure, heat, or metal flow could change the future of a coin forever. What makes this penny so fascinating is that it does not demand perfection. Unlike classic rare coins locked away in pristine condition, the 1995 Lincoln penny has shocked collectors by proving that even dirty, circulated, or heavily handled examples can hold surprising importance. Grime does not erase history. Wear does not cancel anomalies. In fact, many of the most talked about examples were discovered precisely because someone took a second look at a coin that appeared worthless at first glance. As years passed, collectors began noticing patterns. Certain 1995 pennies behaved differently under light. Some reflected with a sharp red glow, others absorbed light with a deep, chocolate-brown surface far earlier than expected. Under magnification, unusual textures appeared, metal flow lines, faint distortions, or surfaces that didn't match standard production norms. These weren't dramatic errors visible to the naked eye, they were quiet deviations, the kind that only time reveals. The power of this coin lies in scarcity within abundance. Millions were made, yes, but only a fraction exhibit the traits that drive collector obsession. That imbalance is where value is born. When collectors realize that a specific variation exists in unknown but limited numbers, demand ignites. Conversations begin. Speculation follows. And then the market reacts, not slowly, but suddenly. Stories began circulating among collectors. A penny found in an old wallet. One discovered in a roll that had sat untouched for decades. Another pulled from loose change and dismissed for years before being re-examined. None of these discoveries came from vaults or museums. They came from ordinary places, reminding the world that rarity does not always announce itself. As attention grew, so did valuation. Coins with verified unusual characteristics began attracting serious money. Not because they were pretty, but because they represented a moment when minting precision slipped just enough to create something unintended. That is what collectors chase. That is what transforms a 1-cent coin into an object discussed in whispers and guarded carefully once recognized. It is easy to exaggerate value, and easy to misunderstand it. Not every 1995 penny is worth a fortune. But some, under very specific circumstances, have crossed into extraordinary valuation territory, reaching figures that would have seemed absurd to the person who originally received them as change. These are the coins that reshape lives not through luck alone, but through awareness. This is why experienced collectors repeat the same warning: do not rush. Selling a coin without understanding it is how history is lost. The true worth of a potentially rare penny cannot be decided in minutes. It requires patience, examination, and respect for the story the coin carries. The difference between spending and preserving can be the difference between regret and revelation. Coins like the 1995 Lincoln penny remind us that value is not always loud. Sometimes it is subtle. Sometimes it is hidden under dirt. Sometimes it sits unnoticed while the world moves on. But when recognized, it has the power to alter perception and occasionally, fortune. So if you ever come across a 1995 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, unusual color, or a surface that feels different, pause. Hold it. Study it. Because history has shown us again and again that the smallest objects can carry the greatest surprises. And that is the true power of this coin, not the metal, not the face, but the possibility it represents. Welcome back. Because today's story is not about a coin you see in a museum or behind glass, it's about a coin that once passed silently through millions of hands while carrying the potential to change a life forever. Today we dive into the shocking and unforgettable history of the 1982 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin that represents one of the most dramatic turning points in American coinage and one of the most misunderstood opportunities hiding in plain sight. The year 1982 was not just another date on a penny, it was a moment of transformation. Rising metal costs forced the United States to rethink how money itself was made. For decades, the Lincoln penny had been mostly copper, heavy, solid, and dependable. But in 1982, that identity fractured. The mint began producing pennies using copper-plated zinc, a lighter composition that forever changed the soul of the coin. During this chaotic transition, presses ran day and night, materials overlapped, and control was not as perfect as history would later demand. Among the coins released that year, those with no mint mark quietly entered circulation. They looked normal. They felt normal. And that was exactly the problem. Nobody questioned them. Nobody protected them. They were spent, dropped, scratched, dirted, and forgotten. Yet within that ocean of ordinary pennies, a small number carried unexpected characteristics, weights that felt wrong, surfaces that aged too fast or too strangely, colors that shifted from bright red to deep brown in unnatural ways. The color of a 1982 penny is more than appearance, it is evidence. Some examples retained a glowing red tone longer than expected, while others darkened unevenly, creating rich brown shades that collectors would later recognize as signs of unusual metal bonding. These color changes were not accidents of time alone, they were fingerprints left behind by a minting process struggling to reinvent itself. Every inconsistency told a story, and every story added value. What makes the 1982 Lincoln penny especially powerful is that condition does not erase importance. Unlike traditional rare coins that demand perfection, some of the most discussed 1982 pennies were discovered in dirty, circulated, or damaged states. They were pulled from jars, old drawers, loose change, even ground dirt. Their surfaces were worn, but their identities remained intact. History does not disappear because a coin is scratched. Collectors eventually realized that 1982 was not one coin, it was many coins hiding under one date. Different metal compositions, different weights, different surface behaviors, all released into circulation together. That confusion created opportunity. When rarity hides inside complexity, value grows quietly, then explodes when recognized. As years passed, whispers turned into serious conversations. Coins once ignored became subjects of intense inspection. Magnification revealed textures that didn't belong. Scales revealed weights that told a different story than expected. Color patterns emerged that challenged normal aging. Each discovery added fuel to a growing belief that some 1982 pennies were never meant to exist the way they do. And then the market reacted. Once collectors realized how few confirmed examples of certain variations existed, competition followed. Prices didn't rise slowly, they jumped. Coins once worth a cent suddenly carried values that shocked even experienced collectors. Not because they were beautiful, but because they represented a historical fracture, a moment when the system changed and something slipped through unnoticed. What makes this story dangerous, in a good way, is that these coins are still out there. They were not recalled. They were not tracked. They were not protected. They lived normal lives. That means someone today could unknowingly hold one. Someone could be one decision away from spending something that holds the power to alter their financial future overnight. This is why those who understand coin history issue a single warning: never rush. The greatest losses in numismatics come not from theft, but from ignorance. Selling a rare transitional coin without understanding it is how fortunes vanish quietly. The 1982 Lincoln penny is not magical. It does not turn everyone rich. But under the right conditions, right weight, right surface, right story, it becomes something extraordinary. It becomes proof that value is not always obvious, and that history sometimes hides inside the smallest objects. So if you ever come across a 1982 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, unusual color, strange weight, or a surface that feels different, stop. Look closer. Because history has already proven that this single year has the power to turn pocket change into legacy. And that is why this coin still matters today, not because everyone has one, but because someone still might.